Thanks. Victor Davis Hanson is a fellow at the Hoover Institution, a professor emeritus of classics at California State University at Fresno, and he joins us tonight. Professor, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Tucker.
So my concern is, how does a country of 320 million people who don't have much in common with each other hang together? And what's the answer to that?
Well, we have to have a common set of values. We have to share in the Constitution. And we're a great experiment. It's never been tried before or after the founding of the United States. We're a multiracial society, but we have one common culture. So our appearance, our superficial appearance, has to be incidental to our character. It's not essential. So if we all start going into tribal cliques, then there is no unification. That's what's happening now. And I felt bad for your guest, but my gosh, it's not just the Trump miracle that's giving empowerment to the working entry-level classes. It's also a radical curtailment in illegal immigration. So for the first time, unemployment may be in peacetime below 4%. And employers have to compete now. They've got to go to the barrio, they've got to go to the inner city, they've got to go to red state poor whites, and they say, you're the only game in town, and they have leverage, and that's why wages are going up after a decade.
Yeah, maybe we'll do something to improve the schools when we have to, when we can't just import a new labor force from abroad and outsource that there. But why would our elites, because what you said is so sensible and obvious, I think, to anyone who thinks about it, if you have a country divided by tribe, it's going to be at war with itself. Why are our elites encouraging that, which they are?
Well, you had a perfect example in your entry-level remarks, because Ms. Sarsour represents the identity politics left, where she wants a demographic that she, in this Manichaean way, think it's white or non-white. It's almost like we have to have DNA badges. And then she's going to be the collective representative of all the oppressed non-white people for her careerist purposes. And then I admire George W. Bush, but he inadvertently got himself into a situation where he's a spokesman for cheap labor. So he goes overseas and violates Churchill's dictum, you never criticize the incumbent president when you're on foreign soil. And then he says, we need cheap labor. And you think, well, who needs cheap labor? And then he says something that's very tragic. He says, we need people to pick cotton in 105-degree weather. And I'm thinking, cotton picking has been mechanized for 50 years, and mechanization is increasing as illegal immigration decreases. And that was the argument, Tucker, of the 19th century slave owner that said, we need people from Africa to pick cotton in 100-degree weather. It's not a good argument. It's not ethically on the right side of history.
No, our ruling class hasn't updated its perceptions in a few decades. Professor, thanks for joining us tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.